Jane Seymour, Michael Budd, terrific to talk to you both. Michael, here we are in the middle of COVID. This production is greenlit with Jane Seymour sitting next to you. How are you feeling?
Can't believe it. I mean, I'm just ecstatic, I'm elated. I'm happy for the Australian people, for the Australian public, for our crews, for our artists. It's a great moment.
Jane, you had to go through 14 days of quarantine to get here. You obviously really wanted to do this. Why?
Oh, well, it's a beautiful script, and the material is very important to me. I actually was involved with producing a movie called I'll Be Me about Glenn Campbell and Alzheimer's, and so I've been involved in the Alzheimer's and dementia world for a very long time. And I just thought this was really beautiful. It's, you know, 3 generations of women and how they dealt with this character, Ruby, and how Ruby deals with it. And, you know, it's magic because she changes the lives of everyone in the family for the better without really realizing what she's doing. And
you're able to show off your range. I mean, I gather you dance and do all sorts of things.
Well, Michael, you know, when we met over Zoom like a million years ago, it seems like, you know, he knew that I was a dancer, or used to be anyway. I can still dance a bit, and I paint. And I told him that when I was with Glenn Campbell, the 2 things that he was able to do, apart from singing and playing, which he did, is he would dance with his wife. He could still dance, and that, you know, brought him alive. And I got him painting in my studio with me. He'd never painted in his life before. He painted these wonderful abstracts, and so, you know, that we thought was really important to show.
Michael, it must have been challenging with COVID. How are you managing the production?
Oh, well, the short answer is it's challenging, it's difficult, but I think the thing about our Australian crews is that we're very resilient. We want to work, and we listen to New South Wales Health and the guidelines that are put out to us, and we follow them. I mean, you know, we're doing different things, sanitising, wearing masks. I mean, all the time we're wearing masks. We're one way in, one way out. So there's a lot of guidelines that we stick to, and it does slow us down a little bit, but at the end of the day, we're still able to make a film.
You must have been what must be one of the few films that are actually underway in Australia at the moment.
I believe so. I don't really work in any other genre other than film, so I'm not sure about TV and music videos or how the rest of the productions are going. But in terms of film, I believe we're maybe one of less of the handful. So it's very exciting.
Jane, not much going on in California?
No, not much. I think there are a few soap operas that are being done. But, you know, my agent told me that literally at his agency I was the only person working, which I thought was kind of wonderful for a woman of a certain age. You know, it's like, really? You mean that client's the one that's working? And actually I've just been offered another amazing thing, which I can't announce yet, but it would be here in Australia. And I've got a series to do in Ireland, which I'm going to start in mid-March. I'm in the middle of a 22-hour huge big piece about the Crusades and about St. Francis of Assisi playing Eleanor of Aquitaine. I'm doing that in Spain, and the Kaminsky's come back. They want me to come back and be in that again. And then I've got another movie in Canada. So I've literally got a full slate. So I said to Michael, let's do this now before it's too late.
And so all this will happen even with the challenges that the US and indeed Ireland has with COVID.
Well, and won't be shooting in the US. I mean, apart from Kaminsky, I think everything is shooting either in Ireland, Australia, or Canada.
Michael, the support that the arts are getting at the moment, because, I mean, how has the industry been smashed, and what do you think of the support that government's been given to the industry?
Well, first of all, you know, I'd like to thank the government for listening to us and putting something forward, which is good. I still believe there's more that needs to be done. We need to look at Australian quota content for these streaming giants that are coming here to show TV shows. We need to have legislation that shows Australian content, minimum quotas on screen, so Australian stories are being told all the time. So that's of utmost importance, and that's something that I'd like to stress. But I'm really happy that the government's brought something forward, and there's more to be done, but I'm sure they'll listen.
You've both got obviously strong connections with the US. Jane, that's your home, and Michael, you've premiered there some of your movies. So in terms of the culture over in the US. Jane, perhaps I can ask, do you see there's any sort of similarities and you know, the ease of working here and the US, perhaps?
This is seamless here. I mean, everyone here is a pro. And I'm just incredibly grateful that the government let me in to come and do this movie. But it is an Australian movie, as you say, although I see it as a universal movie because, you know, the whole world suffers from dementia. I mean, I'm a Brit as well, so, you know, it's interesting to see how each country handles filmmaking. But I think there's such a crossover. I don't really see a difference. You either have a really good crew and they're really into it, or they're not. And nowadays, I mean, everyone wants to work, so I'm sure you got the best of the best.
So let me come back to Ruby, because this is such an important thing for both of you. Both of you have been touched one way or another by dementia, Jane?
My uncle had dementia, and my ex-husband's aunt had dementia and lived to about 102. I mean, she lived in another world for so many years. But I think, you know, one of the things that I've noticed is the person with dementia doesn't suffer anywhere near as much as the people who are the caregivers. And in the case of my aunt, she died many, many years before my uncle died because she wouldn't put him in a home, and it killed her. So, you know, Kim Campbell, the widow of Glenn Campbell, and I are very close friends, and we do a lot of public speaking and fundraising for people who have to deal with people with dementia, because, like this story tells you, it's really hard. It's really, really hard, but the person with dementia is completely oblivious.
Michael, why did you come to this subject, and how has the delay, I suppose, of COVID helped you work on it?
Well, we're very fortunate because when the production was halted, it allowed us to spend more time with the script. As we mentioned earlier, Jane can paint, she can dance, so we were able to make the script sing a little bit more in those terms. Dementia is something that's very close to my heart as well. My grandmother died with dementia. She was a matriarch in our family. She attended every family barbecue. We never knew what we were going to get. You know, she always had an argument with someone and huffed and puffed and went out the door. But we invited her the next week to the next barbecue because the barbecues were never going to be the same without her. And that's the big thing about this story, is that we want to try to change the perception of what's possible for people with dementia. I mean, 50% of all people don't know what to say to someone with dementia. And we also want to keep that spark going. So say having someone with dementia in your life is important. But we also understand that it's a drain and it can be a tax on the family, and we want to highlight that as well, as Jane mentioned. So we're trying to cover all the bases in this story, and I hope the audiences love it.
You've even got somebody with dementia actually in one of the scenes, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this has ever been done before, but I will be directing a real-life dementia sufferer. A woman, she's 80 years old and she suffers from dementia. We rehearsed about 3 months ago and she has no recollection of that rehearsal, but we'll bring her back in and we'll work together again, and I'm really excited to work with her. She used to be an actress in the theatre when she was young, and once again that's about reinvigorating that spark, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Jane Seymour, it's very special to have you out here in Australia. Thank you, and thank you, Michael Budd, and I wish you all the best with the movie.
Pleasure. Thank you.